Hey, everybody. Every adult at some stage needs to engage with professional services, and I'm here to tell you it's at every adult stage. I'm 𝗪𝗵𝗲, an estate planning attorney in New York and New Jersey. We provide peace of mind to families through our high client value services. If you are seeking help in estate planning or any kind of administration following someone's passing in New York or New Jersey, we can assist. Our website where you can schedule a free consultation is 𝗪planningattorney.com. Speaking of value, we're also here to help educate everyone for free. So ask questions and make sure to share so that we can help some folks along the way. Now you'll notice here on the left side of our cool one-pager, it says where to start, right? These are all the age groups, right? 18 to 20s. When you're growing some assets, you're protecting your family, you're growing some more assets, and you're protecting those assets. We have to seek help, whether that's legal, financial, or insurance assistance. At the very stage, 18 to 20 years old, you do need to seek some legal help, right? Why is that? If you look across here at this early stage, right? If you land in the ER, you can't call your family and nobody's there to handle and pay your bills. You are an adult, right? No one else can kind of do those things for you unless you've designated that somewhere. And that's where the solution of having your first estate plan through incapacity protection comes in, which includes, a power of attorney, a health proxy, and HIPAA authorization, right? Designating the individuals you need to help make financial medical choices for you. Once we move past sort of that early stage and we get some legal assistance to get that core plan in place, and by the way, our program here in New York and New Jersey is called 𝗬PI Teens, which you can find at 𝗬PIteens.com. Once you move on from that period and you're starting to get some assets, right? There's some growth here in your world. Well, you do still need to have those incapacity planning documents if you haven't already established them, okay? And it is important that if you have some assets now, that you consider also getting what we call a last will and testament. This will direct how your assets will be distributed should you pass prematurely, and can also designate the guardians of any children you may have, which is really step 3, right? Where you're trying to protect your family, right? This is legal guidance at step 3 when you're protecting your family. I probably should add here also insurance. I think stage 3, right? Once you started a family, maybe you have your first home, is a good place to also get some insurance protection, often in the shape of a term policy of some kind that can offset the loss of one of the partners in case that happens again prematurely, to cover, say, the mortgage on the first home. So I'll probably add the little insurance shield here at section number 3. We do have a program for young families starting out, and young means that the children are minors and you need to have guardianship under a will and your own incapacity protection done. That website is 𝗬PIplan.com for, again, New York, currently for New York and New Jersey only. Once we move on from sort of starting out with our family, a few assets, right? Our goal in life, many people at least, is we're growing our assets. And as we grow our assets, there's going to be more needs. Part of the process of growing our assets, we will engage with a financial advisor, right? To help us make that net worth keep moving forward, right? As we're in our working years. However, knowing that we're in our working years and our sort of bucket is growing, we may want to upgrade our legal estate plan to make sure that we are serving ourselves and our family better throughout time. And knowing that there's a struggle with probate in many states, right? It's an extra cost, extra expense, extra time. Sorry about that. That's your dog. One pause for 1 second. When we have extra assets that are growing at that stage, in stage 4 here, while we're in our working years and we're growing our net worth, we may want to consider avoiding probate for our family because it is extra time, extra expense, extra headache. I know I said that previously, but I had to pause for a second, so sorry about that. But the introduction at this stage is usually what we call a revocable living trust, okay? This revocable living trust supports your family in such a way that it makes it easier at both your incapacity and passing by allowing the next parties to step right into your footsteps, right? Your trustees that you designate after yourself step right in at both stages to assist, and they can have access to those financials right away. Keeping in mind, this plan does include everything below it. You will still need a backup last will and testament. You certainly, after the age of 18 again, still need your incapacity planning documents for financial and health purposes, okay? So depending on where you are in this scheme of life is maybe where you should begin. Now, lastly, once we're kind of heading towards retirement, in retirement, or have accumulated significant assets where we have, say, a paid off home or sufficient liquid assets that we know we're never going to spend it in our lifetime, you may want to consider some additional protections. And for purposes of this discussion, I'm not going to get into sort of the advanced planning stages for those who may be protecting against estate taxes of any kind, because that's a very small percentage of our nation. I'm speaking in general to those who have accumulated some, but really could use the protection overall in the future should significant expenses come down the line, such as long-term care. So at this stage, again, we do need some legal assistance to maybe do some of this asset protection. We're still working with our financial advisors to determine our retirement income and whether we have sufficient or alternatives to what we can do to offset our needs. And then again, insurance is going to be a part of this puzzle. We may want to consider, a whole life policy. We might want to consider long-term care insurance if we haven't already. We're not sort of aged out via the cost, and some other factors, okay? What I would say to that is this is where we say, hey, we know the likelihood of needing care at some point in the future could be pretty high. And we certainly don't want, say, a lien placed on our home or other assets to be lost because we didn't do some planning ahead of time. Again, insurance may be a factor, but without long-term care insurance, there are really only a few methods, and one of them is to start this protection planning. This is where we talk about an irrevocable asset protection trust, and or maybe a double trust, where if you have significant liquid assets that you want to remain in your bucket, we'll have both a revocable trust and an asset protection trust. The asset protection trust, of course, is insulating those assets over time so that they are not spent down for other purposes. I hope that information was helpful to you. And again, I'm Valerie Zammittilaw of zammittilaw in New York and New Jersey, and we provide peace of mind to families through our high client value services. If you are seeking help in either estate planning or administration after a passing here in New York and New Jersey, you can reach us at 𝗪planningattorney.com. Please don't forget, share, and take care.